Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another North Node live episode. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Maggie Kirkwood, and with me, so grateful to have you here, Angie Dahlof, beautiful business partner, dear friend. Thank you so much, Angie. We've got kind of a lot to cover today. I think it's safe to say we've been working up to sharing some more of our personal journey. But anyway, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Maggie. Thank you again for having me. And I'm so excited to have this very vulnerable conversation with you. I think that we do need this. So I'm excited to move forward in this next 45 minutes with you and share this with everyone. Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. And, I just wanted to just interject here. This conversation really is not about persuading anyone against alcohol or quitting drinking. I truly just remember at this particular time in my life, just really, truly feeling so isolated and knowing that I was struggling, but just not having anyone or feeling I didn't have anyone to talk to or turn to. And I just want, listeners to understand there is space. And I think that's what we're trying to create here. With North Node is spaces just to explore, taking space for yourself and creating space to just kind of observe some of the patterns that might not be serving us. And I think that's kind of a beautiful launching off point. But I just trying to talk about how, for me, I came to the realization that alcohol was not serving me and doing just quite some harm that I guess I wasn't really aware of. And I honestly, considered my options and was thinking really clearly that AA was not a route for me, and nor was some sort of rehab program, which kind of just felt even more isolating, if you will. So I just really wanted to share, and I'm so thankful that you're here to guide me through it. But just how kind of re-stumbling or I guess the mushrooms finding me again in my life. Yeah. I can share all about the history there, but at just the most perfect timing. And I can honestly say that mushrooms have supported me in ways that humans I've been able to find the support through this plant medicine intelligence that I just deeply was craving and needing. And I just feel that everyone is deserving of just more access to conversation and education around it. So here to share.
Yes. Okay. So Maggie, I want to jump right in because I want to start actually before the psilocybin. I'm so curious. So, we're talking about kind of patterns we've outgrown and what's going to be on the other side for us. But what I want to know is what role was alcohol playing in your life before you decided to change your relationship with it?
Sure.
Was it fine? Was it comfort, escape, celebration, numbing, grief support? Like, I'm actually really curious what the role it was filling for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say that alcohol has provided some of the most fun and wild times of my life. I think that as I was getting older and, eventually the fun just kind of went away. So it was more or less not enjoyable. It was ruining my sleep. But also my behaviors with alcohol were not like me. So I was kind of scaring myself. And really just, I think, um, when I was starting to kind of hide it, um, that's when it was really playing on me mentally. And I grew up in a household with an alcoholic father. And I think me becoming a mother and realizing that a hangover cannot coexist with parenting, I started to feel super trapped. So, it's funny. Um, I think in the heyday of my sadness, I was probably the most successful work-wise and being in real
Interesting.
estate. Yeah. But when I look back, I feel that it was all masks that alcohol was kind of providing. That liquid courage in real estate, you got to do your negotiations. It came to a point where, if I was writing a purchase agreement, I had to have my wine. Or if I had to call someone to negotiate, blah, 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 I had to have a wine. And it just became really apparent that the role that it was playing was like slave owner, because it wasn't, it was just constantly occupying my mind, not in the sense of, you know, when can I have it? It was more or less, if I'm going to be drinking, how many calories? If I'm going to eat food, I want to maintain my buzz. If how much money is this going to spend? Or if I need an Uber, I don't know. It's like all of these thoughts.
Wow, it really
If I'm
took control of you.
Yeah. So I feel that I just started becoming aware of this pattern where it was always on my mind. If I'm going to be hanging out with this friend group, just really mapping it out, all revolving around alcohol. And I think that was really when I felt like I was victim to it and kind of,
Interesting. Yeah, kind of like it was a burden.
oh yeah, it was occupying so much of my mind. And furthermore, I was just feeling like shit. And I was
Mm.
looking in the mirror, after many nights of not sleeping, and waking up with this like 3 a.m. panic. And, it was a sad time. I felt just really kind of isolated, but it's also the polarity, because I felt sometimes that wine was all I had. Like she was my best friend. And
Wow.
yeah, so I knew I needed her gone, but I loved her so.
Fascinating.
Mhm.
So when you forged a relationship with psilocybin,
Mhm.
how did that help you quit drinking? Can you explain to us and those listening, like when at that moment, was it like immediate? Was it over time? Had you heard that psilocybin could help with this, or was it just you
Sure.
decided to experiment with psilocybin and this was a happy consequence?
You know, I had absolutely no clue. In college, I had some mushrooms, thanks to my beautiful friends, Graham Nelson, Bob Anderson, Jody Haugen. And always a great, beautiful experience, but, recreationally, always drinking, lots of laughing. But yeah, it wasn't until I had started, having these conversations around alcohol and daily, and just my default mode network was, you suck, you're a shitty mom, you drink every day, all of these things. That was the thought patterns in my head. And but I was in the thick of it, and all I wanted was to have a good time. So I thought, and party. So I actually called a good buddy of mine, Jonathan Hunt, and I said, let's go get a drink. He said, I haven't had one in 30 days. And I was pissed, actually. And I said, what's up? And he said, well, these chocolate truffles. And we had been like going out and partying and here and there, just dabbling with some chocolate mushroom truffles. He said, I've just been having, reaching for that versus the alcohol, essentially. And, I think it's very, very important to point out, like, I truly did feel that I needed to be done with alcohol, or at least take some substantial amount of time off. I mean, it was to a point where I was kind of grossed out just with myself and the consumption and the thoughts and the negativity and, the sadness that alcohol was bringing me. It was providing me just kind of anxiety and depression further. So, you know, that's all he really told me. But I thought, if this dude can do it, I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah.
And I remember Jonathan, I think he gave me 5 chocolate truffles, and each truffle containing half a gram of psilocybin, which just for the listeners, we usually talk in terms of microdosing and macrodosing. Half a gram is on the low dose side, but in terms of microdosing, it would be a higher microdose.
Yes.
But for me, it was where the magic happened. And I think, I had no idea what to expect at all. But I remember just looking at it like almost like an exploration. Like, I didn't think it was going to necessarily work. I was very worried that I would be craving, or, how am I going to do this? I'm used literally having wine every day.
Right.
And I think that first day, though, I almost said like a little prayer. Like it was like I hadn't really even learned the idea of being intentional with the medicine, but I think that's how desperate I was. Like,
so you actually were being intentional. You were intentionally using it for this purpose.
Unintentionally being intentional. And yeah, I remember simply just saying, like, help me to feel normal without alcohol today, because that was the piece that I just was really struggling with. It was almost this daily feeling like, why do I need this to feel myself? Or like, why do I have to have this to write a purchase agreement? So it was like kind of all coming together. But yes, so he gave me these chocolate truffles, and I remember being really deliberate, like, okay, I'm going to really try and do this, for 5 days, or what. I never thought here I'd be like almost 4 years later. But I do remember almost instantly, because my current mind state was so negative. You're shitty, terrible mother. You drink too much. You're hiding, on and on. It was almost like the half gram of the psilocybin just shut me off,
It
just
quieted that narrative.
Just quiet. And just for the first time, it was just like almost just relief, like not relief because I'm feeling intoxicated. Relief, just feeling calm and like centered, and not being bully, like, and just kind of like stepping back, like, and realizing how on and how damaging I am to myself. So, this first day, it was really just this overwhelming, like, kind of sense of peace, but I still had just worry and anxiety still was looming, but it was almost just kind of like this sense of like, oh, okay, I'm okay. That's
Right.
it. And then, moving into the second day, and I want to kind of back up. I was actually just with a client of mine yesterday, and remembering when I started this process or exploration, I didn't get rid of the alcohol in my home. I remember I had a box of wine, and part of my rules were, I'm gonna reach for the chocolate first before I reach for the wine. But if I need a glass of wine, that's okay. This is my journey, my exploration. I'm not going to beat myself up. And I think the mushrooms were providing some of that for me, because I just, in my mind, it was like, you have to go to AA, or you have to do this rehab. There's no way we can
Right.
figure this out on our own. And I think straight away, the mushrooms, really told me, hey, or it made me feel supported in some capacity. I know that sounds
You talk
strange.
a lot about that. No, it doesn't, Maggie.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about the support you felt from the mushrooms. So, and I'm reading that like it was like a hug, like kind of saying like, you're good, telling you you're good, and it's okay. You don't have to do what the normative is saying, right? Like there's this construct of like, if I'm behaving badly with alcohol, I have to go to AA, or I have to take these steps.
Mm-hmm,
and it sounds like the medicine allowed you to see that there was another reality there. There was another narrative for you, which is beautiful, which is totally beautiful. Did you stop drinking immediately, even though you allowed yourself the space to have a drink? Did you find that you didn't go back to drinking, or did you dabble?
Correct. So, on that first day, I do think it was a bit of a struggle, and having a glass was on my mind, but I didn't. And I thought, well, if I was really nervous, because I do believe I was a little bit physically addicted at this point, or at least I was waking up feeling like it, because just a lot of anxiety.
Like you're going through withdrawal kind of.
Yeah. And so, I think we're well aware that alcohol, especially withdrawals, is one of the few things, or withdrawal things, that can kill you, or there can be some of these like heavy hallucinations. I forget what they're called. And that was like kind of like playing in the back of my head. But it was like kind of when I had the medicine, again, it was for this first day, very just at ease, and yes, I'm okay. And I refrained from reaching for the alcohol. And then day 2, it was a lot more of that. And it was overall this sense of calm, but then also a gentle unfolding. So just really starting to, take a step back and realizing, okay, wow, my father was an alcoholic. His father was an alcoholic and had gambling addiction and a very chaotic childhood. And, just kind of this support that we're talking about, or kind of just feeling this hug from the universe. It was like I was feeling held, but while some of this is unfolding, or just becoming a little bit more clear, that I'll be darned. Oh, I wonder why I'm struggling with alcohol, or I wonder.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It's generational.
Makes sense. Generational, and then just also piecing together, some of these patterns and behaviors that I've discussed that alcohol would offer me, and rather than sitting in shame and thinking how terrible I am of a person, it was this medicine just kind of showing me the other side, or glimpses, and offering light. Like, and I think the biggest thing with this medicine is it does help us to feel not isolated, and that we are all one, and we're a lot more alike than we think. And so that was the first time I kind of, it offered me, I remember in college with mushrooms laughing my ass off. This was a different sort of symptom, effect.
Yeah. Much more therapeutic. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I didn't reach, I never reached for the wine. So it over this 5-day period, it was a very gentle kind of unfolding, and just instead of being a critic to myself and why did you do this and fix this, and it was like, okay. I was seeing myself a little differently. And I do remember, and I share with everyone, I believe the mushrooms have intelligence and deliver messages, and the messages that I was receiving, and I was open to receiving, where, Maggie, you should look into what alcohol does to your brain if you're drinking daily. You should look at a depressed brain. What does that brain scan look like? So I started really like digging into the education of what alcohol, how alcohol was harming me, which was very frightening. But then, yeah, right around that time, you know, research was coming out with what psilocybin is doing to our brains, but also, you know, all these medicinal fungi.
Mm.
And so I just became fascinated with kind of learning the neuroscience around it. And I had never taken prescription, you know, antidepressants or anti-anxiety meds, but I was real close to going there right around this time.
Yeah.
But just also learning about the similarities with psilocybin and how it affects the certain receptors.
Yeah.
And it all just
Serotonin
started
receptors.
like clicking. But the ultimate message was, and not to be harsh, but the mushrooms were like, Maggie, this is poison. You can feel like this anytime you want with us, with the mushrooms. And by that feeling, I want to reiterate, it wasn't a feeling of intoxication. Oh, this is so cool. It was literally feeling held and supported and heard. And I said, I can live with that. And so
Wow.
that was really, you know, I thought to myself, it literally was like this switch. You don't need alcohol again. And I was so in awe of how did this happen so easily, so quickly, and I don't need it ever again. And
Yeah,
my
that you
dad,
just wanted to do a deep dive into all of it.
true. And also I have people in my family who've struggled with sobriety for decades. And so that was just kind of the catalyst to absolutely for
I gotcha.
deeper exploration.
Did you do these 5 days back to back?
I did. It was boom, 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 boom.
And was it
But
like a break from, like, say, from work? So you took like a little vacation kind of to work on this, or was it in the evening?
Yeah, I remember it was a long weekend. So I took I think it was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which were the beef of the experience. Just knowing, you know, I didn't have any dates or any sort of planned activities. And I did stick close to my apartment, but that was really the state I was in, Angie. I was so kind of down and sad. I was hermiting. And I think that was another big piece that, you know, the medicine has really taught me is a whole new level of hermiting because I was sitting in sadness and grief and shame and, you know, isolated. And again, the mushrooms help to bring just that like level of support and help twist your terrible thoughts that we can have about ourselves, soften that. And then you start to see, you know, you're not alone, and
Yeah, and they're
everybody
not
has their
real. They're not
struggles, and
real.
they're lies. They're lies.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're total lies. For somebody who's listening, who is sober curious, all right, but afraid to what life would look like without alcohol, can you explain to us, like, was there stuff that you had to grieve? Did you have to grieve your old life, or was it just,
Yeah.
it was such a good transformation that you didn't have to? Like, what did that look like?
Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I feel that for the majority of my drinking years, which started, I don't know, when I was 17, I guess, you know, always trying to be the life of the party, the last one standing, the longest, shortest keg stand. I can't remember. But anyway, all sorts of things. And yeah, it was just at some point, you know, that's kind of who I was. And boy, did we have fun. We really did. And I think for me, especially entering my new world of being single and having to date, I was petrified. Like, how the fuck am I going to go on a date if I can't, have
Without my wine.
wine.
Yeah.
And it was just, I thought, I had started just surrounding myself more with people who weren't drinking, and just a common complaint is like, there's nothing to do. There's alcohol everywhere. And like, I just kind of went like, screw that. No. And I started exploring intentionally, because I feel that psilocybin is so full spectrum that you absolutely can sit with the medicine to figure out how to have a hard conversation that you've been procrastinating. You can sit with the medicine to try and quit drinking alcohol. You can sit with the medicine to hopefully be illuminated with something you've suppressed that's holding you back. Like it's full spectrum. And I started realizing that not only was the medicine, helping me to just feel safe and calm and supported, I was also able to have more fun because I was being more myself and being able to express myself in ways that, I think it came out when I'm smashed and thinking it's just a different expression. But it's funny because I think one of them is performance and the other, but at heart, you want to be able to express yourself freely, right? But it's just a dangerous line, because I think with especially, when I decided to give up alcohol, it's not like I was having blackouts then. I was just drinking
all the time,
every
day. Yeah,
wine every day. But yeah, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
no, you are completely answering my question, because I think my curiosity is that, do you feel like you left an old piece behind that you grieve, like that you miss? And it sounds like to me, you don't. Like, you actually love the new iteration is actually more authentically you. It's you being able to be more true to who you are, with the freedom of not having to have wine next to you all the time.
Yes, thank you. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think I was constantly escaping my life and numbing, and that did not feel well.
Yeah, because you had dealt with a lot of loss. I mean, you can talk about it. You with all sorts of things in your life, and lots of people can relate to all the things that you've experienced. Divorce and having like losing a child and all the things, right? And but I think, and is one thing is that, like, you, instead of pushing that down, psilocybin allowed you, it sounds like, to let that come to the surface so that you could work through it in a more healthy way.
Absolutely. I think, I talk a lot about my grief is pregnancy loss. And I had a baby nephew pass away. And I think that, there's no brochure on how to handle miscarriage or how to lose a baby at 23 weeks and go back to work in a corporate environment. And I think we all do the best that we know how to do, which in my case was really none of it, just kind of pushing it under. For me, it was back to back to back kind of trauma experiences, and you do the best you can. But at some point, if you're not sitting with or acknowledging or accepting some of these hardships and traumas, you suppress, and that's where we get into trouble. And so what's something can boil over, or we can become sick. But anyway, yes, I think that's exactly what I was learning about psilocybin. It was such a gentle way to bring awareness and exposure and access to these different versions of us, these different experiences, these stories that we tell ourselves that aren't true.
Right.
You're learning constantly. So, I've come to realize, Angie, like, anytime I'm having psilocybin, whether it be a microdose or a macro ceremony, I am student. I'm learning. I am honored to be sitting with this medicine. What do you have for me? I'm open, and I'm here to learn and evolve and share. And I think that's exactly what the psilocybin does. It's an illuminator,
Yeah.
um, and we have the choice to perceive what's illuminated, and we have the choice, to see positivity or negativity. But I think the medicine has such a beautiful way of sometimes showing us that you have to see the dark, you have to see the depths, you have to acknowledge in order to receive the light.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful kind of metaphor for the mushroom itself. I mean, the mushroom literally alchemizes dead things and creates
Creates
beauty.
life.
And I think we're alchemizing anytime that we're having.
Yeah, you hit on some really interesting things there. One just is the effect that suppressing our grief or our anger or experiences, suppressing them can lead to dis-ease, right? So it can actually make people sick. And so what I found listening to you is you're addressing the fact that you were doing that. And we've seen a before and after picture, Maggie. You've had quite a transformation. And, like, I feel like you've created a healthier version of yourself, not just in your mind, in your spirit, but in your physical body as well. And so it leads me to the 5 days that you spent with the medicine, but then the after, right? So like the piece, the integration piece, and what, how did that look like for you? And it sounds like it's a continuous journey.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But really, like, it sounds like it's also unfolding slowly too. It's not like I've never had that happen either. It's never like nothing explodes. Like, it's a slow unfolding.
Yeah.
What kind of support do you think people should have around something like that?
Well, yeah, just to kind of unpack a few things there. I think that, for me, I am a product of a lot of trial and error. I think with the medicine, I just wanted to, dive deep and learn as much as I possibly can. And it wasn't until I started, I did a lot of like solo exploration, which was beautiful and forever some of the most profound experiences that I've had. But it is really when you have the ability to communicate about the profoundness of these experiences that I think impact takes shape. Because for example, I'll talk about my kind of first mystical experience, meaning I had taken a very large dose, and in my journey, I felt very connected to my ancestors and connected directly to my grandfather, who's a huge part of my journey. But the long and short is I kind of came out of this mystical experience, and it was by far one of the most eye-opening, profound. It was 6 hours long. I could talk about it for 60 days, but I didn't have anyone to share it with, because I was kind of just, I've done something bad. I did drug, or it wasn't, I wasn't able to synthesize and capture so all of these gifts that I kind of call them. And anyway, so that's just an example of suppression. But here we have, we know that when traumas can create sickness. And I think for me, there was a huge physical change that happened, and I want to touch on that too. But for me, it's the look in my eyes. I am just lost and sad, and I feel that my light was just dimmed, so dimmed.
Through
And
the drink, when you were drinking, it was
when I
dim.
was drinking,
Yeah.
it always dim, 24/7 dim. But the transformation photos are interesting. I actually gained some weight when I quit drinking, and my weight my entire life has always been, I'm a tall woman. I have a twin brother. My nickname was Ogre when I was in 6th grade.
Stop, Maggie.
Okay. Anyway, so weight was always on my mind. And also kind of alcohol really played into this nasty narrative that was running in my mind. If I'm drinking, I can't lose weight. I don't know. Anyway, I decided to quit drinking and I thought it would just fall off and it didn't. And I was turning to sugar because of all of the sugar in the wine. And I actually got really nasty with myself again. That narrative would come back, and I was sitting with a few grams of mushrooms, and the beginning of this experience started out super negative. I thought, why did I even quit drinking? I'm even fatter, like all these terrible things. And the mushrooms ultimately were like, no, this is not you talking, and in this experience, I kind of had this self-acceptance, like, okay, well, at least I'm a healthier mom and I'm a nicer person and I'm not hiding and I'm nicer to myself. I can handle being X pounds overweight. And I'm not joking. From that experience on, I lost like a pound per week, not because I quit drinking, but because I shifted this nasty narrative that was living up here and telling me this story that's not even true. And it created space, and I can't really put words to it, but it's just so insane. And, or I have to use my words wisely, but so profound to know that our thoughts do matter.
Oh, yes.
And our experiences do matter. And if we're not able to deal, which nobody can define that in any way, or, cope, they can create more problems. So it's kind of a compounding thing.
Yeah. So community is really important around stuff
absolutely.
Like this. Yeah.
Community, I think just, having anybody around you that's in support of, in support of you wanting to feel better,
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why you and I do what we do, right? We're here to help people through situations like this, right? Through stages like this, and to create a community for people. And that's what I think, your renaissance led you to what you do today.
Absolutely. And I think, I don't know how not to do this because the medicine has been so impactful, not only to me, but constantly on the daily, just seeing A, how much people are struggling, and B, how much these medicines can be helpful. And it's become a duty. And I again, I know how it felt when I was struggling with alcohol and just feeling so isolated and having these dark, dark, dark thoughts that I wasn't even really aware of how dark. It's scary to when I look back to realize how lost I was in it. I was just so lost. And I just don't want anyone ever to experience those feelings. And the best way to share is, what and what's helped you. And it's just such a beautiful, I think the medicine is such a beautiful connector. I think it connects and finds the people who need it. And it certainly has with us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the medicine, there's so much reverence there because of the responsibility. And I just want people to understand it's such a powerful, powerful tool. But it's not it's not magic in any way, shape, or form unless you meet it halfway.
Yeah, you
And
still had to do the work.
you
Yeah.
got to do the work, and you have to be willing to face uncomfortability, but look at that as growth.
Yeah. And it
And
is growth.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think for anyone who's afraid that making a shift like this, which can be obviously quite profound, that they're going to lose friends, or they're going to lose a life that they're. And I think you've made a good point of saying like that you didn't lose anything. If anything, you gained. But there is that fear. So what changed for you? Did your routines change? Did you change your environment? Did you change your friendship, or did they just start to change, or did they stay the same?
Well, I think anytime you go through anything major in your life, or lose a loved one or whatever it is, change is always difficult. And I do think that through these times, you kind of find your people and your support system. However, for me, I realized that a product of my behaviors and me feeling shitty was, hanging around people that enjoy to overindulge and participate in all these activities. So no, I did make a very conscious decision to, I really was going through so much transition, not only with divorce. I had to kind of step away, or I sold my shares of my business. And so, there was multiple fronts of transition happening. But for the first time ever, I did decide, or I learned the phrase that, when the plane's going down and that oxygen mask pops out, I got to serve myself first.
Yeah.
I need to make sure. Otherwise, that's what I learned. I was not taking care of myself. I was harming myself.
You weren't living that way. Yeah.
And so, I really did take quite, and still do all the time. I take time to take pause, and it's turning this off, because it's so quick that these patterns and stories, and you're so used, well, at least in my ripe age of 46, that's a lot of time to be taught and programmed and conditioned and to have. And so I really do think that just taking pause sometimes, even if it's before that drink, why is it right now that I am feeling and needing? And I think that that's such a beautiful exploration, with or without medicine. But we get very accustomed to, I just call it autopilot. I had a lot of autopilot going on, and just kind of shaking it up. And most definitely in the early days, I'm not going to lie, I did have those 5 chocolate truffles. But then I went back for more, and I gave myself permission. I said, hey, I haven't had a drink in 10 days and I want to try for however many more. And I think ultimately, like, I did at the most 3 weeks of every day, not a half gram, but microdosing.
Yeah.
But didn't feel bad about it. And I truly believe, well, we know you cannot be physically addicted to psilocybin. So
we know that.
And the tolerance builds so quickly. So you can't trip out for multiple days, nor was I anywhere near it, but I truly believe the medicine is here to support us in whatever we need. And that's just kind of what felt good and okay. And I started getting very comfortable with, recognizing a microdose that helped me feel supported when I did. I remember having to go to my first Twins game without alcohol, or, flying somewhere that I've never not flown intoxicated. So, I started just really kind of working with the medicine in a way where it just helped me to feel supported. And, whether that's going on a date and you get some of this like social anxiety, or it's not about, again, being intoxicated. It's just kind of working with the medicine to figure out that dose and how it can support your intentions. Which is, there's something just so beautiful, I feel, about that. And knowing that it's, when we look at, we're not going to throw up any graphics or anything, but there's a whole chart out there that shows the opposite end of the spectrum of how dangerous. We did a whole podcast.
Yes.
And you can speak to that. But
yeah,
just
the harm reduction. It's the harm, yes. Alcohol is at the very tippity top, along with, nicotine and sugar, and at the very bottom is psilocybin.
Yep. So yeah, I think what I am trying to kind of, get across to the listeners today is, I think anytime any of us have conversations in our own head about, kind of questioning if something is serving us or not, whether that be a person, a compound, alcohol, whatever it is, those are kind of the first little nudges where, and if the answer is no, right? It's assessing like, why? And really, this is about, for me, it really was not about giving up alcohol. It is about understanding why I was turning to it. And I think that, again, a lot of that happens just, it's autopilot. We're so used to going out on the weekend. We're so used to getting kind of shit-faced. Some of us are still, and it's just other people are doing it, so it's normal. And
normative.
But it doesn't treat everyone the same way. So I think that I just love this phrase, like rethinking your drinking, because again, it is not about giving it all up. And even though I have, but it's understanding the unfolding of how you're here. And, for me, I am an escape artist, and I think that's what I was doing. I know that's what I was doing all the time, and just choosing to numb because that felt more comfortable. But in actuality, it was creating harm, because it was depression and anxiety and just self-loathing. So I think that there's a lot of people out there that, question their relationship with alcohol. And I encourage you to lean in, because at the very least, it can help you just find some inner peace, honestly. And I don't have answers right now, right? But it, for me, really started this beautiful unfolding of helping me just understand a lot of growing up with addiction in my family, and the patterns and the behaviors and the relationships and all of these things that have brought me to where I am today. But it was just a beautiful, life-changing experience in the act of using the psilocybin to help me understand.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're such a testament, because you're none of those things that you were talking about anymore. You're not a performance artist. You're not, hiding things. You're authentic. You're truly you. You're not boring by any means. Like all these things that I think people fear are going to happen, you don't embody that at all. And truth be told, it doesn't happen overnight, right? But the delta between when you started and where you are now, because of the unfolding, it's huge, right? There's a marked difference between the old Maggie and the new Maggie. And at the very beginning, that difference wasn't as noticeable, but now it's so noticeable. And it's just like, I'm so proud of you, not just because of the changes that you made, but your willingness to let it happen and to explain to you and bring to the forefront that, like, you know, to let it happen, right? And to have the courage and to be so open to share. Like,
well,
thank
thank you,
you.
Dal. Yeah, to me, I was just having coffee this morning with someone special, and we were just talking about curiosity. And I think for me, it was just being open to being curious around, I wanted to like understand, especially the medicine more. And I mean, come on, like look at the things that we are finding and with how this medicine can help with depression and addiction and dementia and TBI. And like, it's just on and on going.
I know.
But I think that, yeah, for me, again, it was just this notion or this inkling that my light was dimmed and I was missing kind of a spark. And I am just forever so grateful for whatever it was. And over time, these like mini shifts and different behaviors and not going down that rut and the light comes back. And I think that then what's so special is, for me, it did take psilocybin to have this notion. But, then we get into all of the mindfulness practices and the things that we can do in our bed before we get out of our bed just to regulate. And like, it's all there. But I think for me, we're in a day and age here where we're human, but we all have forgotten how to be human because we're busy building and technology and all the things. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, this isn't about medicine. It's about like remembering, wow, we have special gifts. Who are we behind blacked out Maggie? I just really
you put your oxygen mask on, Maggie. I mean, that's what all these tools, these beautiful tools are. It's just saying me first, because then
yes, Ange,
the beauty comes out. I love it. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Any other questions come into mind?
No, I mean, I think I covered a lot of questions. I think the shifting and the changing is a fear for everyone, right? Because change is just so hard. But you're such a testament to like that it's actually beauty on the other side. Yeah. And then I guess one other question is like, do you find yourself craving alcohol ever?
I don't actually. I truly do not. I would be lying if, I am sober from alcohol, but I love my plant medicines. And again, it's not like I use the plant medicines. For me, anytime I'm using the plant medicines, it is intentional. So there's a lot of meditation happening. I do like to be social too, but at the baseline, because it helps me, a low dose helps me to feel connected. I feel like entering meditation. So I feel that is almost this kind of like going inward journey, whether with medicine or not, is kind of the alcohol. It's hard to explain. Like I want to figure out why I'm triggered. I want to figure out why I'm having this reaction. And rather than running, what I would normally do, or back in the day, is I need to get my glass of wine and but no, it's really taking that pause, sitting with it. Yeah. And then, I went to a wedding the other month and the groom had worked very hard to make mead, which is like a wine of sorts.
Like fermented.
Something. Yeah. And, I thought, I knew how hard he had been working to make all the mead for this wedding for like a year. And we were doing like a large cheers or a congratulatory sip. And I said, I'm going to have some of that because I know the labor of love that he put into it. And I
Mhm.
wanted to participate in this like tradition or starting of traditions.
Mhm.
And, I think that's the shift. Like,
Yeah.
and I was not there 3 years ago or
Yeah.
two,
Well, you
2 years
also
ago.
broke your
So,
relationship off with the alcohol, right?
mhm.
So there's no longer like it's not tied together. Alcohol is just a thing in and of its own.
And it was
It,
a sip, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
but my point is my journey with sobriety is still forever changing and evolving. And I would have been like, no, no. I mean, maybe even last year, but
Yeah.
I'm able to kind of comprehend, um, is this about getting shit faced? No. Like this is literally just a notion of love to
Right.
my
Right.
friends. Um and so I think, yeah, more than anything, it's really about understanding your addiction. And I think at a certain point, um, you know, it, you can have a cycle, whether you replace, like, for example, my my parents, when I did tell them that I was giving up alcohol, and I think for good, they were curious about how that had happened, and I told them straight up,
Mhm.
magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
And the biggest fear was, well, now you're replacing alcohol with mushrooms. And I
A substance with a substance.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
And of course I said, no, I'm not. But real time, I kind of was,
Mm.
because again, it kind of gets back to this idea for me, the medicine was giving me what I needed to feel supported. So whether that was 21 days or 5, or that's kind of how I was looking at it
So you could
at,
step
at,
away.
at that point. Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I hear several people say that. So like just this idea of, if you're, worried or curious about sobriety or worried about your drinking, try for sure, instead of reaching for the alcohol, reach for the low dose.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that then instead of escaping, you're with the medicine, which illuminates and insights and all of these things.
And is
So
anti-inflammatory and causes neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. Like it's beautiful,
those,
right?
those things. So escapism or numbing is impossible. And that might sound scary to some, but
Mm.
so that's where the unfolding
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And uh, if you're open to it,
It's beautiful.
it's so beautiful. And I think they say these days that inner peace is the new wealth.
Oh, I
So
like that. I like this one. I like
mhm,
that one.
inner peace is the new wealth. Like we think we want all these fancy things. I mean, I still do, but I would not give. I am so pleased with where I've come with my negative self chatter and thoughts and insecurities.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
I'm to this. And it feels very well to just feel so more centered and not in fight or
Fight or
flight or
flight.
all these things. And so again, I think that the working with the medicine, we have to look at it as an exploration, because
Mhm.
sometimes we have to be, it's a journey. We're showing,
Yeah.
there's ups and downs, darks, light, all shadow and all of things. But in the process of exploring and trusting, um, then we receive.
Yeah. And we expand, just like what we say with North
Yeah.
Node, explore within, expand beyond.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, we're hitting the hour mark here, but I did put together a little landing page. I'm going to put it, but it's just explorenorthnode.com, and then it's / rethinking your drinking, and there could be slashes in between rethinking and your, but if anybody just feels called to kind of continue this conversation, or it's just an offer to have a one-on-one conversation with me. There's nothing more that I enjoy than talking about the medicine and just sharing what's helped me so greatly. And so yeah, feel free to check that out. I'll try and post the link so we can find it more easily. But yeah, I would love to connect and talk further with anyone that might want to.
Sober curious.
Yes.
Thank you, Maggie. You're the best.
Thank you, Ange. I really enjoyed this. And yeah, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for guiding me. And thank you, everyone who tuned in. I'm forever grateful.
We're here for you
today. Yes, we are. Thanks, guys.